With that down, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Michael Johnson, who writes, Underwater drowned. I'm sorry I had to. At the box office this weekend, between this and Charlie's Angels, should Kristen Stewart take these failures as a sign to stick to indie films, as at least she's having some success in that department, versus the big films where she's being massively rejected by mainstream moviegoers twice in a row? All right, thanks for sending this in, Michael. And this is one of the really interesting things that I've been seeing. So obviously the new film Underwater, it debuted this weekend, which you may have forgotten about, because apparently a lot of people did. Underwater came out this weekend and debuted to $7 million. $7 million in its opening weekend debut. A lot of people even forgot this movie was opening this weekend. And of course, it got drowned out by a lot of other stuff. The question, though, becomes that we get in from Michael here is the box office failure of Underwater a referendum from the movie-going audience that the movie-going audience, as Michael put in the message, is rejecting Kristen Stewart? Is the performance of films like Charlie's Angels and now Underwater, is this actually a statement being made by moviegoers that we don't accept Kristen Stewart? Is that what's happening here? I want to make a case as to why no, that's not what is happening here. The simple answer to the question of, is Kristen Stewart responsible, and the rejection of the audience of Kristen Stewart, is that what is responsible for the financial, let's be kind and say, underperformance of Charlie's Angels and the financial underperformance of Underwater? Is that what is to blame? If Kristen Stewart had not been in these movies, would these movies had performed better? Would Charlie's Angels have been a hit, Rob, if any other actress had been in the role that Kristen Stewart played in Charlie's Angels? Can you make an argument that Underwater would have opened to $50 million instead of $70 million, or instead of $7 million, had Jennifer Aniston been playing the role that Kristen Stewart played in the film? Can you make that argument? To me, the answer seems rather obvious. Fuck no. You can't make that argument. That Charlie's Angels movie, look, we all said from the first trailer, the movie just simply did not look good. I do not believe you can make a rational argument that if you had just replaced Kristen Stewart with Jennifer Aniston, boom, it would have been a huge blockbuster. In Underwater, if you replace Kristen Stewart with insert name of actress here, that boom, it would have been a big blockbuster. Yeah, maybe if Underwater starred Scarlett Johansson. Sure, maybe there's 2 or 3 names you could put out there that would have given it a bigger bump at the box office. But can you make an argument that, no, that Kristen Stewart was the reason Charlie's Angels underperformed and Underwater underperformed? And I just got to say, you can't make that rational argument unless you've got a pre-existing agenda against the girl. Then you go ahead to your heart's content. But any rational thinking person looks at these and goes, no, that Charlie's Angels movie was not going to perform well regardless. And this Underwater movie, which was barely marketed, was clearly never going to do a lot of business anyway. So do I think any of this is an indicator that Kristen Stewart should stay away from movies that film? No, I don't believe so at all. I just believe she's got to get herself into some better movies. But that's the way I see it. Rob, obviously my position on this is that Kristen Stewart was not a primary influence as to why Charlie's Angels or Underwater failed financially. Is there a counter argument to that, however? How would you approach this?
I agree with you. You know, Kristen Stewart is a fine actress. And clearly people rolled out to see her in Twilight. And, you know, she's done some really interesting, diverse stuff. She was in a movie called Personal Shopper that was directed by Oliver Assayas.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that film. I own the Blu-ray. Criterion put it out. It's a quiet movie about a haunting, really. And I think the reason Underwater failed is it was derivative claptrap that should never have been made in the first place. I mean, Remember, I don't know, back in the day, 30 years ago, 32 years ago, when like The Abyss came out, and in the wake of that, we got movies like Leviathan and Deep Star 6.
Oh, I remember Deep Star 6.
Yeah, and this movie is it's sort of a bargain basement underwater monster movie that recycles ideas from 100 different other movies, and you wonder. I mean, I'll bet you my friend Darren Scott, who directed Deep Blue Sea 2, which was a direct-to-video movie, was probably more entertaining. Albeit,
I'll be honest, I didn't even know Deep Blue Sea 2 existed. I didn't even know it existed.
It did.
Really?
And my friend Darren Scott directed it. It was direct to video, but it was shot in South Africa, and it had some interesting stuff considering it was made for like 2 cents. But still, you look at this movie, and I think that look, dude, I'll watch any genre movie. I will watch any genre movie I can, whether it's science fiction, fantasy, horror. I don't care. But it has to have something that I'm interested in. I had no interest in this movie. There was nothing about this movie that made me remotely curious as to whether or not it would be interesting to me. I knew it already wasn't. The premise itself, an underwater base that's threatened by a monster. Yawn. I mean, give me something. I'd rather watch Meg again.
That's saying something.
I know.
Saying something. So I agree with you. So guys, the question here becomes for you. Do you feel like if another actress had been in the role in Charlie's Angels, other than the biggest actress in the world, like Scarlett Johansson or something like that, but do you feel if just another actress had been in Charlie's Angels or in Underwater, that the box office would have been significantly higher for those films? Or do you feel like me that I don't think there really would have been much of a difference? So I don't feel it is Kristen Stewart to blame. Maybe you feel that it is. I want to hear what your thoughts are on that. Jump down into the comments section below and leave your opinions there. All right.